Hey, this is Kumar, the host of the Believer podcast. I'm here with EZRI today. So first, I just want to let you introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about your story and anything you want to share.
Hi, everybody. My name is EZRI Villiard, and I am a forever student, I like to call it. I'm a current doctoral student in the health service psychology program at Western Carolina University. And I would say that that's a good intro to my story as a whole. My goal is to help people with their mental health in the best way that I can. And because of that, I have been in a lot of programs and training opportunities to help me do that. So currently, that's my biggest story, my biggest journey is me working through this personal journey of learning more about myself, as well as learning more about people and how to best help people with their own journeys.
And then, so with all that, what made you want to go down this path? What kind of led you to wanting to help people and wanting to get into this type of field?
Yeah, I noticed growing up that a lot of my friends were going through a lot, and I could just tell. But I didn't necessarily have the resources as a 12, 13-year-old child to help people in this way. And so, through kind of seeing the needs of my friends, my family, just the general population, I wanted to help, but I didn't know how. And so I started pursuing knowledge of actually how to help people, because it's one thing to say that you're able to help, but it's another thing being able to help in a way that's healthy. I think that's a big misconception, is that people don't always know how to help others without taking on a lot of that themselves and then them needing help in the future. And so through seeking training and how to best help people, I'm able to help people in a way that doesn't then hurt me, which I think is a big issue that we have sometimes, is we want to help, but we don't always know the best way to help people.
I totally agree. I totally agree. So with like helping people and all of that, what has Western Carolina meant to you in the process of figuring out what you want to do and figuring out that helping people is the way I want to go and this is the type of type of life plan that you have right now.
Oh, for sure. I mean, when I first went to Western, I knew that any school in the country could get me a bachelor's in psychology. They all have that program. So Western was just the school that kind of was on my radar. But I didn't necessarily have an intention to stay at Western as long as I did. But through the program and through the faculty members and through growing at that school, it helped me realize and solidify what I wanted to do in my career. Because at first I was like, I just want to help me people. I don't know how. I don't know what direction that means. But through like my classes in undergrad, it solidified that I wanted to be a clinician. So I wanted to do clinical psychology. And then through my journey in the clinical track, I learned a lot more about health and how health can impact the body and how the body can impact the mind. And it's this very cyclical thing that you understand as an athlete, is that when your body isn't performing or your mind isn't performing, you're going to see that in the whole everything that you do. And so that kind of led me towards the health psychology journey, and all of that kind of happened through my experiences, through the programs that I was in at Western, and through the mentorship I received at Western, and through the experiences through my practicum, which is like our built-in internship that we do, like through experiencing, I really like working with this population, and this population is really cool. So it was kind of a natural progression throughout my every stage that I had at Western.
Okay, okay. And then how long have you been at Western? I know you said you didn't expect to be
Yeah,
in school for this long. So how long have you been in school?
I have been. I like to joke that I just finished my 19th grade. So I'm heading into my 20th grade. I have been at Western since 2019, fall of 2019. So you can do the math on that. It's been a while. Definitely was kind of a fun thing, because I remember my mom, when Western first announced that we're doing their doctoral program. It's actually relatively new. 2019 was their first year actually doing the program at all. And my mom found a newspaper article about it, because we're relatively local. So the Franklin News will sometimes talk about what's happening at Western. She was like, "Look, Ezra, you can actually go all the way there." And now here I am going all the way through at this one school, which she kind of reminded me not too long ago. She was like, "Do you remember when I said that?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm actually going all the way through at this one university." And I just love it so much. So why would I go anywhere else, honestly?
That's facts. That's facts. And so, I went there for a year, got to meet you, and then So I know it's the mountains and all that. So what is it like living in the mountains, and what is the, I guess, peace that you get from the mountains? Because it's a very peaceful place. But I would like to know, like, what are your thoughts on, like, if anyone wanted to go to Western Carolina or go to Cullowhee or Silva or anything like that, what would your experience be from that?
Yeah. I think if you want your outsides to match inner peace, this is the best place to do that. Like even people always say, like, go to your happy place in your mind when you're doing whatever. Like that's your happy place right outside the door. So I mean, to be in this area and to be able to physically just walk out in any direction, honestly, and be in these places that they have postcards of or that there are paintings of is just unreal. And so I think it can be really helpful to for people that have a hard time finding that inner peace to go out into the outer peace. And then it all just kind of falls into place. And to be at a school that really utilizes that is so cool. Like all of the resources that Western does to be like, let's go on a hike, like let's go whitewater rafting, let's just go out and do, I think they do like mindfulness walks where they literally just go outside and walk and just are in nature. I don't know other schools that can do that. Like if you're in a big city, which obviously big cities have so many resources and opportunities that we can't have here, but I think we make up the difference in a whole different way. And then if you come here and you realize that and you're able to kind of open your mind to the different kind of resources than what you're used to, you'll realize that it really balances back out to these bigger city schools that have access to all these things. We just have access to different things that they will never be able to have, just like we can't meet their standards. It's the same way.
No, I agree. I agree. If you had, so if someone's visiting, what is one place in that area that you say they should visit?
Mm. I think just walk outside, honestly. I don't think for me there's this one big place. I think
Hmm.
just go get lost on purpose. Like go pull over if you see some pretty like flowers on the side of the road. Like if you heard about this cool hiking trail, just go because like there's so many times where I'm like, I want to stay inside all day. I don't want to go outside. I don't even want to think about that. And then I force myself to just go on a walk
Yeah.
because I can do that. And then, or sometimes instead of driving home, I'll walk home from campus because I currently live pretty close. And I'm just looking around like, wow, I would have never even processed the beauty of the simple walk from campus to my apartment if I chose to not notice it. And so for me, it's not like this one big thing.
Hmm.
I guess if there was, I really like the waterfalls and highlands. So there's one in particular called Dry Falls where you're actually able to walk underneath the waterfall. And that one's
Hmm.
pretty cool. I'm not much of a hiker. I'm not much of a physical activity person at all. So that was a really short hike, very short. It has a nice parking lot. So you can park, pull over, walk, and then you get to walk underneath the waterfall, which is really cool.
Okay. So going back to your schooling, what do you, so what is kind of, what do you plan on doing with your degrees? And also, what would your dream job be with those degrees? Or in general, when you were a kid, what was your dream job?
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I really, really wanted to be a zookeeper because
Hmm.
my dad is a veterinarian. So we have always had animals, like always, everywhere. So I grew up loving animals, loving being around animals. And then I did a budget project in middle school and realized that if I want to be a zookeeper, I would be very broke. And that was around the same time that my friends started to go through all the life transition. So it kind of naturally slipped into, oh, well, maybe I want to help people.
Hmm.
And then my mom actually got me a book that was like women careers or just like careers in helping people. And in it was something called animal assisted intervention, which is basically working with animals and the therapy setting. So you basically have trained animals. They do, here's my cat, speaking of animals, they have dogs, horses very often, sometimes cats, sometimes rabbits, but they basically have animals that are trained in a speciality and then they utilize that in therapy, in already established like therapeutic intervention. And so then I was like, I could do both. I can work with animals and I can work with people. And so that's actually what my research is on. So my thesis was on the impacts of animal assisted intervention in combination with mindfulness on perceived stress in college students, which is a really long title for if I put you in a room with a dog for 10 minutes, do you feel better?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my big goal is to be able to, when I have the time, which right now I don't, but like be able to raise like a puppy from infancy and be able to train them to actually be used in my practice and be able to kind of have that service to be able to work with people because it's been really helpful for a lot of conditions. It helps individuals with autism who aren't able to connect in the same way with humans. They're really able to connect with animals. You can teach skills. There's some really cool prison actual experiments that they do where they have inmates actually work with animals with the animal shelter. And so the animals get out of the shelter, and then the inmates actually get to learn skills and take care of something and learn all sorts of skills through that. And so that's kind of my big goal, is to be able to um, implement that into my future career. But other than that, I feel like I'm learning more the things that I don't want to do, but then there's so many things I do want to do at the same time that I
Yeah.
feel like it's more, these are all the opportunities I have, and I don't like this as much, so I'll move that to the side. But I do really like this. Maybe I can incorporate that, which is why I like that I'm in a what they call an applied program. So
Mhm.
it's a PsyD instead of a PhD. So instead of a doctorate in philosophy and psychology, it's a doctorate in psychology, which means it's a little bit less academia and a little bit more clinical and applied practice. And so I'm learning a lot of skills through my practice, and I'm able to then apply those in my classes. So we're doing like role plays and volunteers, and I have actual clients and caseloads. And so I feel like through that, I'm like, oh, now I know how to do this, and I like this therapy. And I didn't think I liked this age group, but this one wasn't that bad. So maybe I do. And so that answer is always a little bit trickier for me.
Okay.
But
Perfect. So then, what is the most challenging thing you've had to go through during school or during your figuring out what you wanted to do in school? What is one of the most difficult moments, I would say, of that journey?
mm, I think right now is pretty difficult. So, as a part of our program, we have something called the it's like the big internship, and it's through the APA. Every doctoral level mental health provider has to do this type of internship, and it is kind of similar to like residency for any sort of medical student, where basically you apply to all of these sites out in the country, and everybody else is also applying to these as well. And so you're competing against everyone in the country at the same time. And the hopes is that you get interviews, and then that those interviews result in you matching somewhere. But there's a lot of kind of things and factors that are playing into that. So there's like essays you have to write, and you have to apply to at least 15 places, and then you're hoping you get an interview, and then you're going to rank them, they're going to rank you, and you hope that that system then matches you, and then you're going to be wherever that is for a year.
Hmm.
So it's like I'm right now, I'm kind of formulating like how far am I willing to go, what type of places do I want to go, where do I best fit, while also trying to keep my options open enough to be realistic. And so it's like I've got some places in Kentucky, I've got some places in New York, I've got some places in Georgia. And that's kind of really stressful, especially at the same time where it's like it's bigger than me. It's
Yeah.
so much bigger than me. And I think anytime something feels bigger than me is when I most struggle in academics in school, which is the same thing when I was applying to my master's program, I was applying to my doctoral program. Is it's like I can do so much, but at the end of the day, it's so much bigger than I am. And I can't control how many people are applying to the school. I can't control how many people are applying to the internship. And so I think anytime something is bigger than me, it gets really overwhelming very quickly, where it feels like I have less control of the situation. And then you can slip into that helplessness mindset of like, I don't know. I don't have a controlled situation. So I have to like remind myself like these are the things that you can control. These are the things that you can do to plan and make yourself the best candidate. But at the end of the day, you also have to realize like it is bigger than you, and
Hmm.
so is everything in life, honestly.
Facts, facts. And then, so I know I said was the most challenging. What are one of the moments you're most proud of in your life? Not necessarily just has to be about school or anything. What is one of your
Mhm.
most proud moments in your life?
Hmm. I guess I could go back in time. So, what a lot of people don't know about me is I did karate. So, I do have my black belt, and that took me 7.5 years. So, 7.5 years of my life were dedicated to this martial art. And that black belt test was 4 hours long. 2 hours were actually at someone's house and nobody was actually able to see or witness what happened. And then the last 2 hours were in front of all of our friends and family after we'd already had 2 hours of just like, I don't want to say torture, but it's equivalent. It's equivalent for sure. And I think that moment for so long will be one of the most proudest moments of my life because it really showed me how capable I can be when you genuinely feel like you can't do anything more. I did for 4 hours and 7.5 years and was able to really get past any like mental blocks and prove to myself physically that I could do what most people couldn't just based on how hard it is physically and mentally. So I'd say that's probably one of my biggest accomplishments.
No, that's amazing. Do you still fight, or I guess fight might not be the right word, but do you still use your black belt or do or like
It's in
practice and
there.
things like that?
I should. It's in there mentally. Sometimes when I get with one of my best friends, she used to do some karate too, and we'll be like, "Do we remember it?" And we'll see how much we can do. Or I'll go home and I'll be like, "Oh, there are my nunchucks. I wonder how much I can still do." And then I'll whack myself and be like, "Not much." I've definitely let my body go, but my mind can still do it. So I know that if I started to like train and be able to stretch, is the big thing. I can't kick above an ant at this point, but I think I could. It's like it doesn't go away. Like 7.5 years of knowledge doesn't go away, but I would definitely have to get myself to the physical point to be able to actually like do it well.
Yeah, and then so is karate like the movies, like all the karate scenes you see in the movies, or is there a more realistic, like in real life type of a karate?
There are parts of it. So I think what a lot of people don't know is there are different types of karate. So I did American Kempo, which is like an American modernization of some of the more traditional. And then there's Taekwondo, which is a little bit different. So I think they all have the same base root. And then in films, they're usually for the most part accurate in that same base route, but the delivery I think is what's going to be the most different. And so I would say Karate Kid is genuinely accurate because it is a lot of responding to what the other person does instead of being the aggressor.
Mhm.
Because honestly, like being aggressor is not going to be beneficial because in most of what I was taught, it's all in response to what someone else does. So it's a lot of this person hits you with this way. This is how you respond to that instead of being the person that kind of instigates. So I'd say that pretty accurate for the most part.
Okay, okay, and then what does the word believer mean to you?
Yeah. I think it is a lot of different definitions of the same concept. So, do you believe in yourself? How do you believe in yourself? What helps you believe in yourself? And also, how do you help others believe in their selves? So, it's an internal thing of all the ways that you can best believe in yourself. What do you use to help motivate your own goals and guidance? And then, how do you kind of emanate that to other people into the world. So through kind of your experiences and your stories and through your own journey, how can you help other people also realize that they can do the same thing and then kind of have their own internal understanding of how to best support themselves in their journey and their dreams.
Okay, that's perfect. Those are definitely some things you definitely got to think about when the word believe, because that is a loaded word.
Yeah.
Those are most of the questions I had. Do you have any
Yeah.
questions or any dialogue that you wanted to have about anything? Or, but yeah, I'm gonna open
I,
the floor up to you.
mhm. Yeah, I do have one question for you. Where do you kind of see Believer going in like the next 5 years, 10 years? Like where do you want to take this?
I want to take Believer into more of a, kind of like a business to where it's all about helping people. So instead of
Mhm.
just, an Instagram and a brand and clothing, that's not really the main part that I see for this. I'm more looking for building something to where I can have mental health coaches, have a podcast room, have somewhere where people can come work out, like a personal trainer for basketball or different sports, or just mainly the main thing is just having mental health coaches to where people can really feel like there's a safe space for me to go and talk with somebody, whether it's a mental health coach, whether it's just another person that has shared their story or done anything like that. So like all the people that have shared their stories on the Instagram right now, my hope is that somebody can go see that person's story and be like, you know what, I'm going through something similar, and this person is going to allow me, and or I'm going to try what this person did to get through whatever I'm going through right now. But hopefully at some point to have an app that also allows, you post your story to the app, and then people can look at your story and interact with that person, and not indirectly but directly, and have a conversation, and kind of, I'd be able to ask questions and have a good conversation, instead of that person that might not feel comfortable going to their family or their friends, but rather go to a random person, so there's not any quote unquote judge against them. I feel like that's the biggest thing, just building a space where people feel safe, having mental health coaches, also potentially having something to help people get jobs that might be struggling to find a job, and then just using some of the connections I have, or some of the other people that I may know, being able to connect others with jobs, or just give some people some help. I think that's the biggest thing. I think at the end of the day, it's building a safe space for people to tell their story, and for people to feel like they can be in. I think that's my biggest 5-year goal.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like a multi-dimensional support space or support
Yes.
system.
Yes, yes.
That's great.
Bring some positivity into the world. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, we totally need it for
Yes,
sure. So
yes.
that's great. I mean, kudos to you. I think this project is awesome, and I think you're going to take it somewhere so much bigger than we could ever imagine. So I'm so glad I'm able to support in any way I can, and I wish you the best in this journey, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate you for coming on and just kind of sharing some of your story, sharing some of the things that you've gone through, and just, just being open, and being open to the idea of doing this. I really do appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I appreciate you.
You as well. Bye bye.
Bye bye.